Yeah, wow,
It's been a minute.
it has.
Oddly, we have, if I leave this in, we have already shot our June episode 3 months ago. Now we're back to our February episode. All right, it's February 1981.
Yes.
We're
into the 80s.
Getting into the 80s. Going on a Valentine's Day date, per se. This is a date movie.
This
is the Valentine's, like, what should we go see? We should go see Sphinx.
Sphinx. This is
Frank Langella. We just saw Those Lips, Those Eyes, and we're high.
Oh, Those Lips, Those Eyes. I mean, this has catapulted his stardom, his star into the
And it's
heavens.
like, wait, you mean it has Those Lips, Those Eyes, Frank Langella?
It's starring Those Lips, Those Eyes, Frank Langella.
Yeah, so directed by Frank Schaffner, who brought us Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes.
I mean,
Papillon, Boys from Brazil.
Pretty good resume.
Yeah. Written by John Byrum, who gave us Razor's Edge.
I mean, the pedigree.
So I think we're in for an Egyptian adventure, I guess. I don't know. I knew nothing about this film. Like, some of them, it's like, oh, I remember that poster. I don't know anything about this film.
I think the poster is probably more famous than the...
Oh, really? Because I was like, I saw the poster.
I say that because I do remember it as well. So I was like, I don't know the movie, but...
Yeah, I know nothing about this film other than it's an Egyptian adventure, as I think they wrote about 4 times on the...
Well, I mean, that could sell tickets, an Egyptian adventure.
And Frank Langella.
I'm sorry, Frank Langella, then Egyptian adventure.
Yeah, they're like, do you want to see a Frank Langella movie? Yeah, what's it about? Does it matter? No.
You know what? It actually doesn't matter. Let's go see it.
So join us on our Frank Langella movie experience.
It is a movie. Every Frank Langella movie is a
Welcome
movie
to
experience.
Frank Langella's Post Apocalyptic Show, where we just talk about all Frank
It's
movies.
like a retrospective of Frank Langella.
He's like, why?
In his voice.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to watch it and talk about it.
All right.
1981, February.
Hey, get ready.
February 1981.
February 1981.
The preview to Indiana Jones.
And yes, pretty cool.
I know, it's so stupid, but I say it every time. It's so good.
I mean, yeah.
You just can't go wrong. All right, everyone. Hold that up. Oh, I don't want to... Langella right there.
Gotta get him in there.
Gotta get him there. The description of... This was the movie we were promised.
Please read that.
Someone is hunting tourists out of season in this adventure thriller directed by Franklin Schaffner. Planet of the Apes, Patton, Boys from Brazil.
Patton?
This guy directed Patton. And starring Lesley-Anne Dowd, The Great Train Robbery. Frank Langella, Dracula. John Gilbert, Murder on the Orient Express. A beautiful, dedicated Egyptologist finds her life threatened many times while traveling from Cairo to Luxor Valley of the Kings. She is in search of a mysterious tomb of riches, which also holds a great interest for black marketers. Based on a novel by Robin Cook, this riveting film delivers twists, turns, and a tale of intrigue you won't soon forget. But guess what? People forgot about this film. Yeah. Except, I'll say the great people at Scream Factory, a 2K transfer of this. So the quality, top notch. And it wasn't...
Yeah, it was nice and clean.
Most people had forgotten about this movie because this movie cost $14 million. It made 2.
Quite a hit the studio took.
It was a big hit. Orion paid $1 million for the rights. So Orion went in on the book going, this is it. But see, we'll get into it a little bit. This is very much normally would be a Raiders of the Lost Ark ripoff. But this is pre-Raiders by about 5 months. So I would see Orion buying this the summer of Indy. Indy comes out June 12th or 11th of 81.
And then
this.
Like a month later, someone's like, we need one of those. They go in, they see this. We have a female Indiana Jones. Give them $1 million. So I don't know if that million counts against the 14 million, so that's 15 million in the hole.
Probably. I don't think so.
All right, John. That was the promise.
Yeah.
What did we get delivered?
I'm still trying to figure out what that was. I mean, I think it was trying to be a lot of things. I think it was, if it were trying to be, well, okay. We have the benefit of having seen Raiders and, you know, having that be, because we haven't seen, it's the standard, really.
Yeah.
But as an adventure, Raiders is, first of all, like Back to the Future, that is a script that is 8 sequences and, you know, pretty flawless.
Yeah.
So, but it moves, and you know there's a through line. You know what's going on. This one was just like basically trying to fight and figure out. Am I okay?
Yeah.
Trying to fight and figure out what this movie is about, what the goal is, who's the protagonist, who is that. You know, we got John Gilbert. Okay, then we don't have him, and it's just like
Tragically,
and then Frank Langella comes in well into the movie. Still don't know what his role was,
right.
But it's just trying to figure out. When you said just now, female Indiana Jones, I think that would be a way to bill this movie.
Right.
If it were that,
like you said, if we didn't have the knowledge of that, and say this movie was already in the works pre-Indy, Indy comes out, you know that's how they would have built this. It's like you just went on an adventure with Indiana Jones, go on an adventure with Erica? They say her name like once.
It's like news to me when you just said
Erica? I'll look it up as you. But then you could have seen them. They would have probably re-edited this film, and they would have like tried to market it.
The thing is, even today, like if you pitched a female Indiana Jones, I mean, there's some movies where you have like a dominant female character and, you know, an adventure type, which, you know, you have maybe tombs and different things like that, you know, Tomb Raider, but it's like a legit, not like an indie, like it has to be like Indiana Jones or Raiders, but like a legit, she's an Egyptologist and she's actively trying to find something, trying to reach a goal. Here, I didn't know. Like she says she's an Egyptologist, but the only evidence of that was that she said it, and and like a couple of, you know, times where she figured out some whatever the script was.
Yeah, she could kind of read the hieroglyphics.
The hieroglyphics, yeah.
She told us.
I mean,
the only reason.
It's like, otherwise, it's like, you know, she's falling in love with a couple guys. I don't know. That didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it was just like, why is she there? It's like there's nothing to hang your hat on. It was nothing to. There's nothing she presented that led me to believe that she should be chased. And well, she was after something, I guess, but that she should be chased and killed, and like she controlled something to where, you know, it touched off all of this sort of organized pursuit of her. I don't know why. Like you said, they know who you are. I mean, they're there.
Yeah,
they know who you are. They can just, if they want you dead, they can just do it.
Yeah, it was her name was Erica Barron.
Okay.
I mean, and his name, what do you remember, what do you think Frank Langella's name was?
Langella.
They used a lot, I mean, once again, there were a lot of names they didn't really say their names that much.
Bill? No, like...
Was it Frank Langella?
He said it once.
Right.
It was like Ahmed or something like
it
that.
Is. It's Ahmed Kazan.
And so,
But it's Frank Langella, but he's...
when I saw that, I'm like, oh, so he's
Yeah.
because his uncle was there at the end,
Right.
and I was like, wait a minute, so he's actually not.
I didn't... Yeah, I mean, these are also those movies where John Gilbert plays Abdul Hamid.
Well, yeah, and you're like, first of all, when John Gilbert came on, because I saw him in the credits, I was like, oh, okay, this is John Gilbert, and I'm thinking, British people everywhere,
Yeah,
colonize everything, so it's like, oh, he's a British guy, and then as it's played on, I was like, what is going on with his accent, or what is
say Abdul. You mean John Gilbert?
And then you were like, why did he take this role? And they're like, oh.
Yeah, when you have a day shoot, but also I still don't know why. But also, I guess, we look at the director's work, Patton, before this, I think Boys of Brazil, it was before this as well, Papillon. He's made great movies.
No, I think, and when you do stuff like that, actors sort of reach out and would like to work with filmmakers like that. So I totally get it. It's like, I like to work on your next project. Yeah. Sure, I have a role for you.
Yes, Sir John Gilgood, I have the role of Ahmed. He's just like, I do want to work with him.
It's like, and I know it's the 80s, it's not the 90s, 2000s yet, but, cancel?
And he really didn't even... The best part is, I guess, the saving grace with, Frank Langella and John Gilgood, where they weren't trying to, they didn't do a stereotypical accent. They were basically British, and his name was Ahmed and Abdul. So...
Right.
But it also, when you mix in with everyone else, take this to my son, and they actually cast a local, and you're like, okay.
Right, you're just like, okay.
I just don't know what this... All of a sudden, it was just like, oh, it's a romance now. Because all of a sudden, they're riding horses and they're taking boat rides, and it's like one day.
Yeah, my guess is that this is a novel, and it's supposed to be...
Robin Cook. Robin Cook novel.
Like a sweeping sort of epic story. Yeah. And that love story in the novel, was obviously you have more time to flesh out stuff and all of that. So I'm assuming that's what that was. And, it's funny, my one of my screenwriting professors was like, when we would present a script idea, and then after, you'd say it, he'd look perplexed. And he's like, well, where's your love story? It's the guy who wrote one of the Scorsese movies. So he was just like, old guy, old school. People called him grandpa, but he's like...
He's 52.
Yeah. I don't know how old he was. He may have been like 60s, 70s, but he's like, what's your love story? And I had written a story about a woman in the South trying to in a town trying to fight for the sustainability of the town against the encroaching developers. And he's like, I get all that, but where's your love story? And I was like, oh, it's a love story between a woman and her town. And it's like no, that's not it. So, and I think he's saying that because he was grizzled veteran of the studio, and so that's the question. He's like, that's the question they would ask all the time. So, in Sphinx, I think the sort of shoved in love story stuff we have, it's just like the studio going, hey, I gotta see,
Right.
Oh, so we have Erica, and we have Ahmed, and so when do they get together? Well, this in the novel, in the novel. Well, it's not really
built up. It was 8 chapters of.
Yeah, it's not really about. It's about her journey to. Let's see a love story. Okay, so then to appease the studio, the way it felt is you shove a couple of scenes in there, but it just doesn't work because all of a sudden, like you said, she met him 12 hours ago, and finally he's like, I don't know if I can do this for us. And I'm like, us? Like, how is there
That was that
us?
one moment where you're
Yeah.
like, us?
Yeah.
Wait.
I was like,
And you grabbing the thing going, us? Wait a minute.
and I'm like, what? Did we miss? Did we fast forward or what?
Did I sit on the remote? What happened?
Yeah,
Well, she even says that line too, like when they're embracing in their dresses that they're wearing, their nightgowns or something.
the wardrobe.
And then all of a sudden she goes, I didn't want this to happen.
Yeah.
From the guy that you met once? Like, at that point, he was the guy that was just staring. He was, like, he wanted to know information. And he was like, Frank Langella eyes
Right.
at her. And then it was just like, all of a sudden, I didn't want this to happen. You've been there 10 hours. Or you've been there the whole time. We never really knew if she was going to Egypt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bet in the thing is, though, the book probably has all these elements. Like, the thing is, though, it's like it had everything. You know, it's like you had a little adventure. I see why they paid $1 million for this script. It was literally everything.
No, totally. I mean, and it was, you know, the locations and the photography. Like, it was all really, really good and had potential. Like, all the elements are there.
Right. It looked good. They were in real locations.
Yeah.
The set deck, props, everything about it was
Props. Oh yeah.
like,
Props
yeah,
were
especially when you get into
really-
like the treasure room or whatever.
Oh
They
my
built
God.
everything.
really good, really well done. But it's you know, it's sad because it's like it's a waste because I think, you know, I forget what other movie we watched. It was like all the elements are there.
Yeah.
Like bona fide there, but you know, it's just needed another a better treatment. You
Yeah.
know, and I don't say that to knock, you know, the writer, script
Yeah.
writer, or the obviously not the novelist, but it's probably a lot of cooks. It's probably a lot of hands in it, and saying, well, it could be this, it could be that. Yeah, it could be a lot of things, but when you have a novel like this, it's probably an epic novel, and then you condense it down to a movie. You just have to make choices. You have to make a decision, and it has to be palatable, and it can't be everything from the novel, you know. And I mean, did we have sequels at this point? I mean, it could be a franchise.
Yeah, you could have easily made a sequel to this that was better than the first one, and people wouldn't realize there was a first one. If you called it something else, you didn't call it Sphinx 2, you call it, you know, something like Egyptian Nights or something.
Ooh, trademark.
And just sort of had sort of the same character. Then it's like, oh, well, there was a first one. Yeah, don't watch the first one. You know, it's like, yeah, it's okay. It lays some groundwork, and you kind of get to know the character. But I mean, for me, I think my biggest thing is like I didn't know what Erica. I don't know what her motivation was at any point, because we start off like the first 10, 12 minutes is some sort of backstory of this tomb. Like, we see the flashback, which we kind of didn't need any of those. They didn't really help, other than that super violent where they ripped the guy apart. We're like, is this what this movie is going to be? Well, it just ripped him apart. It's like, oh. So then she starts talking there's like a 5-minute dialogue scene of stuff. And I was like, are we supposed to remember all this? And then, but it was never about, all right, I need to go talk to some people to really get down to what. And there was no like, hey, they're opening tomb for the first time, so you need to go there and find out why this and that. There was no motivation to get her to the next step other than, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
All right. Then you talk to some guy, and you just never knew where she was or why she was anywhere.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, that's like 101. And I just can't, for protagonist, I can't believe that the novel was anything like that. So it's like to take...
And I'm not taking nothing against the Robin Cook. I'm sure her novel was robust.
Right. So it's just like, why not take what I'm sure was a clear goal, you know, and just condense that, because I know it's a novel, so it's a lot of different things, but you know, condense that in here, and then, you know, have that inciting incident in the beginning, and let us know who people are, and let's go, you know, because you're basically taking us on a ride somewhere.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to follow that throughout. And when it's like, I don't know, well, she's going. I don't know why she's going. I don't know what her goal is. I don't know what really anyone's goal is. Is the black market? Is that
They kept saying black market a lot.
Is it, the guy got killed in that flashback?
Yeah.
To find him, the people who did that, is that what?
I mean, is it the curse? Is it the black market? Are we trying to protect this stuff? Are we trying to find new stuff? Like, what are we doing?
But
like, I never knew she just
it?
kept doing stuff.
And what consequences? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we find stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
What does that? What does that mean?
Well, yeah, because she saw the Abdul, Sir John Gilbert, as Abdul, and then he shows her the statue that has, that has the writing on it that she can read. Then people come in and chop John Gilbert's head off for some reason. Then they take it, and it's like, oh, why was she there in the first place? Like, she didn't know he had anything.
She didn't.
But like,
she didn't know. No.
Then it was like, okay, so we need to follow. Our goal now is she needs to track down the black market to get this statue back, because this is the key to something, which we didn't know what it was.
She took pictures, and later she finds out things. So.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, this statue is the key. Nope, no key whatsoever. It wasn't even like a red herring or a MacGuffin. It was just stuff.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Sometimes I just, as we work in the industry, so it's like, that things can get through, but things go through many, many, many hands, and many people see it, and many people have opinions on things. And it's like, with a script like this, and with a cut like this, it's like no one said, look, this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why she's here. I don't understand her goal. I don't understand who these other characters are. I don't understand what their goals are. I don't understand, if they're the antagonist and she's the protagonist, what is her goal, and what are they trying to prevent her from doing? It's like, I couldn't make sense of what that was.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating because, again, it's not like all the stuff wasn't there. It's not like it couldn't have been a really enjoyable meal of a movie.
Right.
I mean, it's like there's a lot of different elements in it, locations, props, it's a lot of different cast in there. So there's a lot to like about it, but I just couldn't put my finger on what we were supposed to be, who we were supposed to be behind in this. And obviously she's the protagonist, so her, but she's just kind of going through the motions of going through it and going into rooms and finding something, and then coming back and just walking into the.
Yeah, she would do something really big, and then just be sitting on her bed, smoking a cigarette, looking at something, going, I guess she got home.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was a pretty big jump. Like, where are we?
Yeah, it's like, so I'll go to the office, to the pyramid, or whatever, and I'll unearth some treasure.
The office, the pyramid.
I mean, that's kind of what it was, because when she came back, it's like, the stock shot of the hotel, like the stock shot of the suburban house of that sitcom.
Yeah.
And it's like, little bumper, and then you go, she's smoking a cigarette. She's like, so, I finished my day at the office at the pyramid, and it's like, okay, well, that's kind of what she. It's like, how are we back?
Yeah, like, why are we back? So she would be smoking against artifacts, which was always amazing. I just, like I told John while we're watching it, I sort of miss smoking in movies just a little bit, because it was just so blasé about stuff. Yeah. But then she would just go to her drawer and always hide stuff in different parts of her drawer for a reason. And that was when she figured out where the treasures were, which is interesting if it paid off. Like, there was. All we knew, which we didn't find out until the very end when Frank Langella was dying, was that growing up his entire life, his whole family was trying to prevent all these artifacts from, or all these treasures from getting into either thieves or museums, and they wanted them all not taken, so they put them in a room. But if that was the thing, like if that was her thing, going, I know where these things are, I'm gonna go, but that wasn't the motivation though. Like still don't even understand what her driving force was.
No, but even if like that was her motivation, I know where these things are, I'm gonna go, because she's to do what?
Yeah, it's like, I found them. Well, what do you do? I don't even know exactly what you do. You say you're an Egyptologist because you told us.
Right.
What is that?
Like she tells the widow, she's like, I'm an Egyptologist, and she's like, and I can imagine the widow who is from Egypt, she's from there, and this British woman comes, I'm an Egyptologist, and she's like, okay, yeah,
I am, but
I mean, all right, sure.
Like you said, all the right elements are in this movie. I mean, the acting was real. I mean, Frank Langella will be our superhero probably through. I'm always going to try to pick. Hopefully, I want him to have a good career, but I'm always going to pick the bad films of his just so we can watch them. He's really good as Ahmed.
Yeah.
And Lesley-Anne Down was really good as.
Yeah.
I mean, she was actually really good as Erica.
No, but she is good. She's
and then
great presence.
For the most part, everyone else was just middle of the road. But there was nothing wrong. Like, it's that thing where you're more frustrated with because it had all the right elements. It looked good. The sound, the score was actually really good. Like, I mean, got a little campy in places, but the score was good. The cinematography, the directing was, he did it. I mean, he did Patton. Mm-hmm. He was fine. Acting was fine. There's just was nothing, it all came down to, like, maybe the story was there and that was the best edit. Like, is it... And I'm not throwing it on the editor because that's him putting it together in studio. No, leave the bucket of water on that guy's head. Why? Like, I mean, there were so many weird things that were left in the cut. We're like, yeah, I guess that's in there. It's more of a frustrating thing because it should have been a better film.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I'm thinking that's probably what it was. This is the best edit. From what they had being the script, being the footage. Certainly the director knows how to make a really good movie. And you, like I said, you could see it there, but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. I mean, the love story reeks of some studio going, we got to have
amp it up,
a love story in there, and it's like if you cut those scenes out, I mean.
It didn't help her solve anything. It didn't distract her from any of her mission. And in the end, didn't really affect her that much. She was kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
But you just took it out. I mean, she could have just liked that guy.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it should have just... Monday morning quarterback 40 years later.
Right.
It should have just been like, I need to do this thing. This guy is in charge of that thing, Frank Langella. I'm going to talk to him. He's going to distract me because he's been hoarding all this stuff for his family to keep it out of hands of my type of hands because, he's from Egypt. Frank Langella. As much as John Gilbert.
Right.
And then there's a romance that buds from that.
Yeah.
And then she finds out his secret. He gets shot because other people want to steal at the black market. But that's the trajectory that should have been the path. Almost, right. But it's just he comes in 30 minutes into the movie, and then it almost seemed like he wasn't even going to be in it much because he kind of came in. He showed up in her room. They have a conversation with him, and then we don't see him again for a while. And then all of a sudden, I didn't want to fall in love with you. You've seen him once, like what do you guys do?
I know.
Do we need to release the Schaffner cut?
Right. It's like, yeah, we need to campaign for that. Yeah, it's like, I don't even know if a love story is, but not possible. I mean, it's not a 60-minute movie.
No.
So you could have had
It's a 2-hour movie.
time in there. Yeah, you could have had time in there to develop something.
Yeah.
Like Frank Langella doesn't even come in until what, 30 minutes
Yeah.
or whatever in. So you could, you could rearrange it in, like, if you want to get a love story in there, at least enough to where you and I aren't turning to each other going, wait, what? How are they're together now?
Yeah.
Or us? There's an us?
Yeah.
12 hours ago, she just met him.
Yeah. And now they're on a boat, because all of a sudden it was like he wanted to follow her, took her on a tour, and it's like, well, I have a couple more places. Well, they're going to be closed. Do you want to go for dinner? No, I can't. Then they're on a boat ride. Then they're on dinner.
Yeah.
Then they're riding horses for reasons. Then they have dinner, and they're telling each other these stories. Then the next day they're in dresses. It was just like... And the thing is that it didn't stop the flow of the movie, because the movie had, like, you can talk about the tone shifts, because, like, it was
the
like...
tone shifts.
Okay,
That's,
it starts off as a drama.
That is the director, though.
Yeah, it starts off as this drama. Okay, she needs to do things, which we still don't really know what her things are she's supposed to be doing. Then, oh, God, someone just got murdered. Like, violently.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what this movie is. And then you do the comedy tour with the cabbie and Hawaii Five-0, and then you have the tour guide who's making jokes, and it's like,
Yeah.
what are we watching?
It's like it wants to be, this sort of dramatic thing at certain times, and it wants to be slapstick at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
It wants to be this, like, enjoyable romp at certain times, and it wants to just be everything, The tone of, say, a Raiders, is mostly light, and it knows what it is. Yeah, you'll have some dramatic, but it's not going to be, it's a fun sort of movie. There are some very dark themes in there, absolutely, but for the most part, Harrison Ford keeps it afloat into the pocket of where, the tone is pretty consistent, I think. Here, Lesley-Anne Down, I think she's in the same movie, I think, the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, like, the tour guide and the cabbie, the stand-up comedy tour guide and the cabbie who's, like, watches Hawaii Five-0, which I thought maybe was this a promo for Hawaii Five-0, because he mentioned it about 10 times.
It's like cross promotion with Warner Brothers. It's like, Hawaii Five-0, am I right? And he, like, stares towards the camera, like, look, I'm Dano, and you're just like, what's going on?
So it the guy with the woman dropping the water on the guy, and he's like,
and shrugs towards camera.
It's just like, but we're in the middle of
and like a serious chase. And,
yeah. So it's like, why stop for that? Like, that's the shot you cut out.
Yeah.
But it's a shot that maybe, I don't know who it was, but maybe it's a studio.
Look, it's been pretty heavy. We need a breather. It's like, no, trust me, it's not very heavy.
Yeah. No. Because we still know.
We've seen this movie. It's not
we don't know what's going on. But why are they chasing? And it's like, who is that? And
yeah, I think what it is, we never knew why anyone was after her. Because I think, like you said, with Indy, or even Harrison Ford, knowing the character, like, Lesley-Anne Down was great. She brushed off a lot really quick. Oh my God, I just saw this guy get beheaded. All right, I'm going to go to my hotel room and open some drawers. She pretty much brushed off a lot of her life pretty quickly. But I don't think we ever knew what her goal was. And I think that was the biggest thing. If I knew what her thing was, I probably would have been invested a little more. It was just people just kept showing up. And I was like, and then she kept going places. And I was like, I think she's trying to solve a riddle? Maybe? Is she trying to find something? Because the one thing she stumbled upon with John Gilbert was stolen. Yeah. Are we after that now? Like,
I know, but it's just like, it's amazing that this is a $14 million movie, which is, I don't know what that translates to today, which is a lot more. It's amazing that we are talking about this movie that got made, that was from a novel, with these actors, and we're talking about a 101 thing that you always get when you start to write, a script, it's like, well, what is the protagonist's goal?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the first thing you figure out. And we can't figure out what the goal is.
Right.
And you start to, you kind of, when you start now, you perplex. You're like, goal, or you're writing any story really. Goal, what is that? I don't know. They're just like hanging out. And it's like, no, but what's the goal? I don't know. They're just kind of chilling. No, they kind of have to have some sort of goal. And then you get into it and you realize, okay. And this is what we as readers, we as viewers, this is how we follow you. This is how we follow the story. And we couldn't do that with this. And so here we are on these like locations and ready to, follow these people and these good actors on a journey. And I don't know what the journey is. I don't know the road. Like, where does the road lead? Like, if she was trying to find out, the Chamber of Treasures, or trying to find out like who's taken the statue that she found, or whatever it is. Okay, there you go. But she finds it, right?
Yeah.
Then what? To what end? Okay, she found it, and it's like, that's not really.
Yeah. And it was like, if it was all about the statue, make it about that statue.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key. And too, like, you can forgive a lot of the stuff in some of those movies that you see where, like those forgettable 80 movies, where if it was action beat, if it was like Raiders in a way where it's action beat, and she's fighting people off, you would just be like, oh my God, that was amazing. She did all this, and in the end, he sacrificed himself, for the secret. And you're like, wow. Yeah. But it was because it starts off as this heavy drama. You're like, okay, what is your goal? And then it becomes an action film. Like, if stuff starts happening, like in some of those, like, even 80s comedies where you're doing stuff, you're like, I don't actually know what anyone's purpose was, but I had a good time because they moved the story forward. But there was no story moving forward because I didn't know what the story was.
Yeah, I didn't either. And it's like, you have all these, it's weird, you just have all these elements. What's another movie we had where, like, I think it was the Martin Mull movie, where you just had all these different tropes and characters and archetypes.
Yeah.
And, and all the ones that you love, that you remember from the 80s, but from later movies.
Yeah.
Because they sort of took those and, honed it down and said, okay, this is we're going to make it, we're going to flesh it out a little more and give you an enjoyable, palatable story.
Yeah.
This has a lot of different elements too. It's not Lawrence of Arabia. It's tries to be a lot of different things, but what's frustrating is it could have been good. I mean, it has all the elements. I think, you just need to give us a goal. You need to give us a through line. You need to give us, like, what is she fighting for?
Yeah.
And, along the way, those things are, she has these obstacles. I mean, that's sort of I don't want to say paint by numbers way of doing it, but not every script has to be that way.
Yeah.
But a script like this should be, look, I know what she's going after, and these are the obstacles.
Yeah.
It's
so weird because how bummed they had to be after they saw Raiders, because they had the exact same script in a way. Like, they had, or the same book, the material, like the book. Like, the filmmaker goes to the theater. What's his name? Franklin Schaffner goes to the theater June. Let's see what this indie bullshit's about. I don't know why he goes in with a grudge. He watches it, goes,
maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what we should have done. Or the makers or Ryan see that movie going, we had it too. Like, we could have taken that and just amped up, like, even with all the same people in it, and just made like a tight 145, and it made a little more action adventure-y with a romance to it. It was just you just wonder if they went into it going, damn it. Although there was a crossover with Sully, I can't think of his name, or Sully, Jonathan Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
So he basically plays the same character. So it was this weird crossover because they both came out the same year, which is hilarious to me.
That is crazy. I mean, who Spielberg watched Sphinx and go,
but they already had to be in production.
No,
right?
no, they did. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, just seeing the movie and then seeing his, probably coming from the editing suite and going, hey.
Yeah. He saw an early screening of it and was just like, oh, I know who we need to get.
And I'm like, oh yeah, Spielberg's watching Sphinx. But no, Spielberg, he has screenings. He's always had screenings, 35mm screenings in his office of movies that just come out. So.
Well, and too, like from a director that had this movies
totally.
before, it would have been let's see what his new thing is,
Totally.
So
absolutely.
But all right, so with Sphinx, it was something. I don't know if I'll remember it. Like at the end of the year, I don't know if it'll be one like a Carney that we still talk about from 1980.
Carney, I mean, you just immediately are called into those performances.
I mean, other than Frank Langella, like I don't know if I will remember this film.
No, and I think she's very good, and I think they photographed her very well. I mean, the wigs notwithstanding, or the hair, it was different.
She
in some
had
places.
Hair issues, but she looked great.
Yes.
The cinematographer just
Great,
lit her up.
Great on screen, like she, she's a star. But I just think she wasn't utilized because I just didn't. And she's enough of a star that I'm willing. I want to go on a journey with her, but I didn't know what the journey was.
It would have been fun to have 4 of these movies, like like with her, like her as her.
She could
indie
have,
run would have been really
definitely
good.
Could have, and it's just like, but I think she probably should have had more to do.
Yeah,
it's not when I say that we didn't know she was an Egyptologist unless she told us. It's like, well, Egyptologist. It's not like she couldn't have been doing things, more things in that realm.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
she could have. I don't know why I didn't have her.
Yeah, I mean they could have
more, but
yeah, and I think it was just. It came down to like what was the motivation and like what were her goals, and that was it. That's really the only flaw with this, other than being a little long-winded and tonal shifts, and it's an action film and a love film. But like, I just needed to know what people needed to get done. But what was your end goal?
But nothing is not correctable in like another draft.
Yeah,
because once you get that goal, I think. Suddenly certain chuffa, like comes out, and you just start to really like the story takes shape, and we go on that journey, and it becomes a simple thing that we can follow. But you still have all these locations and characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we still have that journey that we can still we're still with you. This one, it was like, so is it about this? And we're like guessing what this thing is even about. It's like at every turn, it's like we're exhausted at the end.
I was like, man, I'm more tired than she was, and she ran around. I was like, is this it? Is this the goal now?
Right.
All right, Judd. Sphinx.
There it is.
February 1981. If she can get out alive. What is it? Beyond the sealed door was the last undiscovered treasure in Egypt, and it's all hers if she can get out alive. No, it had nothing to do with that. No,
it's
not. Damn you, Box.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say, don't not see this film. Like I would not recommend. It's not one where it's like. You can skip it. If you can see it in a gorgeous a format that Scream gave us, like they didn't give us anything purchased. In a nice, nicely done, you'll appreciate what was done.
Yeah, I think so. If it comes on and it's I would watch. I would give it a watch just to see, but I wouldn't say go out of your way to see.
No. I mean, I feel like we had more of a rousing conversation about it, as flawed as the movie was.
Yeah. I think so because there are elements to it that were well done, and it had a lot there that could have been made into something really.
And it wasn't frustrating like some of the ones we've seen. It's like this should have been good.
Yeah.
It had it all. It was just middle of the road.
Yeah.
It was more of a bummer. It didn't make me angry.
I
It was
would
more
say
of a bummer. It's like, oh, we had Frank Langella.
Yeah. Oh man, the staring contest with him.
Should I just put his eyes at the bottom the whole time? Just
It's like lasers burning, like burning a hole into the pyramid to get to the treasures.
Well, thank you, Orion, via Warner Brothers, which was their logo for some reason, and companies like Scream that give us physical media that I'm still not I'm getting back into physical media, but it's nice to see it done properly.
Yeah.
Thank you, High West, for your campfire, because it'll always be
It is
a pleasure to drink that, and maybe we'll do one from High West. That'll be the cap off, whatever the last the movie is we do. All right, well, thank you for joining us on Post Apocalyptic Show, Rob.
John.
Social medias, did you watch the movie? Comment, like, follow, subscribe.
All the things.
Maybe a Patreon, I don't have it, but, just send us money.
Cash App.
Oh yeah, Cash App, it's like, these things aren't cheap. Actually, it kind of was, but, it doesn't matter. But thank you again for watching. Up next, March, King of the Road, maybe. That might be, I don't know, whatever March is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is,
be there.
We can't wait for it.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.